2020. Can you even believe it? It sounds like science fiction, 2020, but we're here. God's grace, we're here. Welcome to my channel. I especially want to give a warm word of thanks to a couple of new subscribers we got over the Christmas time. Jessica and Luandri, I hope I'm saying your name right. Welcome, it's so nice to have you here. Let me know if you're watching this video. You can leave a comment down below. I am so excited to be kicking off 2020 with a new video in my Everyday Hero series. This is part 2. We tend to think that when we read stories in the Bible that they're characters, and as we're reading it, it feels almost like fiction. It's so hard to remember that these were real people with real lives and that is their real stories. But there are people today that are living out their faith in equally as epic stories as those Bible characters are. And that is what my Everyday Hero series is all about, showing you that faith is something for the everyday person. So today's Everyday Hero story is a friend of mine from church, actually. Her name is Rowena, and we've known each other a good few years, I'd say. She's a stay-at-home mum. She's got 3 beautiful kids, and she's married to her husband for a long time. I'm actually not sure how many years they've been married for, but it's a long time. Today, Rowena is sharing her incredible story of her miraculous healing. And not only that, also in this video, she's sharing how God used this illness to grow her faith, deepen her relationship with Him, strengthen her gifting, impact complete strangers, and really build and grow the community of faith that she's a part of. Gosh, this was one person with one illness, and there's so much good that has come out of the story. Before we get into it, I'd really like to ask you to just hit the thumbs up button and the subscribe button if these are things that you're interested in, if you're excited to hear Rowena's story. I know I can't wait to share it with you. And the thumbs up is always good because it lets me know that you want to see more stories like this. Okay, let's get into her story.
General get to know questions first, the surprise ones. Coffee or tea?
Coffee for sure.
Every time?
Yeah.
Okay. And how many pairs of shoes do you own?
Oh.
I love this question.
I don't want to count, but I don't know, at least 30.
At least 30?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's an unreasonable number. Might be a few more.
I think it's pretty normal.
Yeah.
From what I've heard.
Yeah.
Like, that seems to be the normal 30.
And if we're counting running shoes, that's like, yeah.
That's exactly what Jules said.
Really?
And then last question. If you're a superhero, what powers would you like to have? What would your superpowers be?
Flying would be awesome. And I suppose super strength.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Any particular reason?
Well, if you have super strength, you could help people. And flying is just cool.
Okay, so to get into your story, your headache started around Christmas 2018, and then they built up to the point in the beginning of January where you had to go and see the doctor, and the doctor said that they were brought on by stress. How did you feel about that diagnosis?
I hadn't felt stressed, but I accepted that perhaps I was subconsciously stressed in the build up to Christmas.
Yeah.
My 2 daughters' birthdays, maybe. I wasn't feeling stressed.
And then on the 11th of January, you experienced double vision for the first time. And that must have been terrifying. So can you just give us an idea of how you felt when that happened? What did you experience?
I was driving my daughter to school, and suddenly there were 2 blue cars in front of us and 2 white cars, and the middle line in the center of the road was diverging as we drove. So it was very disconcerting. But I actually already had a chiropractor appointment booked for that morning, so I drove straight to him in quite an emotional state. Yeah.
So after your visit to the chiro, then you gave it like the weekend to see if things would get better, and then it didn't improve. So after that, your next step was to go see the neurologist. Can you tell us a bit about that visit and what he said?
Well, he did sort of a series of just physical tests. His diagnosis was that it was a sixth nerve palsy, which means there's a weakness in one of the nerves that manages your eye movement. And so he didn't actually discuss a lot of the causes it could have been, but he did need to test further, and it did seem like it was quite serious at that point. So I wasn't very fearful, but I was feeling concerned that this was going to be something that was bigger than I'd experienced before.
Okay. And just to give information to the people that are watching, what were some of the possible causes it could have been?
It had a range of fairly scary causes. So it ranged from brain hemorrhage to tumours, cancer, and then the other possibility, which is what I was booked in for the MRI for, was a suspected stroke victim. So yeah,
sure. Imagine receiving that news.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you heard all these possibilities?
Yeah, I did feel fearful, and there was a moment in the MRI machine that I was like, what if they find something? But just as quickly as the thought came, I had just a sense that God would heal me, no matter what, no matter how serious. I think it just would have maybe taken more psychologically for me to overcome.
After receiving this diagnosis, you're then admitted to hospital for testing and pain management. You said you were in a lot of pain. And then while you were in hospital, that your eyesight actually decreased, and that when we were talking earlier, you used the word debilitating. Can you tell us how this affected your everyday life and your family, and just, how did it affect Rowena's life?
Well, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I'm used to doing everything with my kids. So it was quite frustrating not being able to, having to rely on friends and family to drive them now to school and back, and to their various after-school things, to preparing their lunches and just spending time with them. Normally in the afternoons we play games and puzzles and things like that. So I was quite lethargic, especially when I first came out of hospital, from the medication, I think. And then I had quite a few days where I was just in bed the whole day because the pain was too great, or I was really nauseous. It didn't last. I didn't have too many of those kind of days, but it did take me a while to get back into the routine of being a mom. Your first reaction to this illness and this eyesight and vision issue was fear and uncertainty and all that type of thing. You were spending so much time with God and in His Word and connecting with Him, and this led to a huge increase in your faith and understanding of maybe the illness and what was going on in your life around there. But over the process, God changed your heart to make it a time where you actually started cherishing it, and it was like a valuable part of your life. What was your new perspective on this illness? For me, it was like a Damascus moment. Because I had to decide what I believed to be true about God's character, and I had to learn to hear His voice more clearly. I think when we are happy and things are going well, and our life is comfortable, then that gets challenged, either financially, emotionally, or physically, and that's when we really have to decide who or what we truly believe.
One of the best outcomes of this illness in your life was your increased faith, and the fact that you could operate so well in your gifting after that. And you mentioned to me that when you were in hospital, you were praying for a girl that was in the same room as you. Can you tell us a bit about her story and how that all...
Yeah, without revealing too much about her, because I haven't asked permission to share the story, but she was someone that had a genetic disease that required surgery annually, and so I asked her if I could pray for her, and I'd had a dream about her the night before, or at least I knew it related to her, of this really scary looking flaming red-haired woman who was commanding a horde of demonic looking troops, but she was against this girl. And so after asking her a few questions, we were able to discern that this was indeed a woman that was in her life, and who was against her, and that I felt that this woman was a liar and a deceiver, and I shared that with her, and thankfully she knew the areas that this woman was perhaps trying to hold her back in terms of healing. So that was really special, that God shared something about a stranger's life with me, and we were able to pray into that so that God could have the glory in the situation.
Yeah. And so she could actually find freedom in it. That's
absolutely
amazing.
Yes.
Sure. And so this is your gifting, like it's part of your gifting that you just were finding people to pray for after your illness. And it sounded to me like people in the hospital and people in the shop and wherever you went, you were just praying for people, and it just led to this new boldness.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to?
Yeah, initially I thought it was because I had the eye patch that I felt I was more approachable. But I think it was probably I was able to lay aside any thoughts that somebody might respond negatively and put it in the context of we have authority as believers and prayer is powerful. So put aside what someone might think, and if they want to be prayed for, ask God to step in.
Willing and able. Before you became ill, you'd been asking God for vision, and you'd been wanting to go deeper into this supernatural side of life. And then after that, you get struck with this illness where literally your physical vision is removed. Do you think there's a connection between the two?
Definitely. Yeah, when I look back on my journal, and all these prayers of mine are about, Lord, help me see. We felt initially that it was a demonic attack on my vision, and I feel like it is a situation that God has turned to my benefit, because it is definitely a time that I cherish. Yeah.
Okay, so in our house, those kinds of prayers are called, we call them dangerous prayers. Andrew and I actually have spoken about those kinds of dangerous prayers for as long as we've been married. And it's the kind of prayer where you're praying it and you don't really want the answer that you're going to get, but you know that it's going to be absolutely worth it, and it's going to require a lot of faith, and it grows you and stretches you. What was your experience like in hindsight of praying those dangerous prayers? Did you even know you were praying them at the time?
Probably not really.
And would you pray them again? That's like
absolutely.
A follow-up question.
Absolutely. And I think, and none of us want to go through a difficult time, but if you had to say, would I go through it again to be where I am with God now? Absolutely. I think my husband and I always say we'd rather live in this dangerous place, but we're living by faith, with a relationship with God, than getting comfortable and
absolutely
forgetting about Him, I suppose. Yeah.
You said that you felt God telling you to stop trying to see in the natural. What did this teach you about the relationship between the natural world and the supernatural world?
I'm actually still unpacking that one. But there is definitely a connection between the supernatural and the natural. God often requires a physical act of obedience to effect a result in the supernatural. Because if you look biblically, there's lots of strange things that people do, but it has an effect in the supernatural. And confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that Jesus is Lord and you will be saved. There's a physical supernatural connection. So but I'm still unpacking it.
Okay. At one point, the palsy actually changed eyes, which is not supposed to happen.
No.
And that gave you the opportunity to give a really cheeky response to your doctor, which I love, because it just shows like the fighting spirit in you. Can you tell us about that?
Well, he said no, it might not be this, it might be an autoimmune disease, which would have been a lifelong problem, as it were. And so I told him no, I preferred his first diagnosis and I was going to accept that one. So
cool.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, that was the point in the story where everything changed. And it was where you, I don't know, maybe you don't agree, but it's where you maybe finally understood the authority that you have in Jesus and used your faith in that to change the circumstances that you were in.
Yes, definitely. And my husband said as we were walking into his office, because this was then the follow-up appointment after being in hospital, he said, fear stays at the door. And we made a decision that we were not going to let fear in, and so it didn't actually take hold.
You mentioned when we chatted that only 30% of people that have sixth nerve palsy that don't have a reason for it or a cause actually recover from it. So your prognosis was not good for healing. And what was God saying to you about your healing during that time?
No, he definitely told me that he was going to heal me. I didn't know when it was, but as soon as there was no discernible cause, that actually allowed me to relax. And he had said to me, I will heal you, I will be faithful to complete the work that I've begun in you. So I knew that I just needed to trust in him teaching me and hearing everything that he had to say.
In this process, I suppose.
Yeah, it was a process for sure.
We can't go through the story without making mention of the community in your life that came around you and how that was actually like a part of the whole journey. Can you share something about that?
Definitely. There were people that I knew to call immediately, that were prayer warriors, that I knew would that had the authority to speak into my life if they saw something untoward or that I needed to resolve, but also that they would uphold us as a family in prayer faithfully. So that was very meaningful. And there were times that I didn't feel like having people come and pray, but I knew that I would have been robbing them of sharing in the victory when we did get it. There are still words that have stayed with me that I hung on to over that time, and pictures that people shared that were deeply significant. And then very practically, people bringing meals. I love to cook, but at that point, especially when I first came out of hospital, I just didn't have the sort of strength or desire to do that. So it was definitely a community coming together and just feeling loved and uplifted. I think that's what God's about, is a relationship with Him, but with each other.
And like through that whole thing, it wasn't just your healing, because everyone was standing in agreement with it. Like, absolutely, it was happening to you, but it was a community thing. Like you're watching to see as a community what is going to happen here. Like how is God going to intervene, and it was just amazing to see. So in my mind, this story is without a doubt a miraculous healing. Do you stand by that as well?
Absolutely, yeah. Out of the norm. It's not it didn't have a natural cause, and it definitely had an unnatural healing.
Yeah. And then during that time, because it was a time thing, were you ever looking for the instantaneous healing? Like, God, take this from me now?
Yes, for sure. Especially, I think the first weekend, I expected a miracle, but then as I was learning so much in my time with God, I was happy to settle into it and just relax and trust that He would heal me in the right time.
Gosh, that's amazing. Hey? In our Western culture, we tend to look to doctors for the answers, and we program to choose doubt instead of choosing faith. We can be so skeptical of miracles and like supernatural, and our minds can like justify somehow that healing plus time does not equal a miracle. Was it any less miraculous for you because of the time?
No, it was definitely a God intervention, because most of the causes were pretty sinister, and this was a supernatural deliverance, definitely.
What did you gain? What was the benefit of having a longer road to miraculous healing rather than an instantaneous one?
It became like a momentous time that I can look to now as, I think if it had been quicker, it would have been very special, but now I can look back on it, there's like almost a memorial that's that's how 2019 started for me. And I've got pictures of me with my eye patch on, and for me it's, when I see that eye patch, I think of God's goodness.
Yeah.
So
like a deeply significant time.
Yes.
As opposed to like an instantaneous, okay, well, in a couple of years I might actually not remember it so clearly because it was so fast.
Yes. And I think also it enabled me to change my habits, because suddenly, because I was more homebound, I gave a lot more time to God. And I know, we're all busy, but I could clearly afford to have given God a bit more of my time than I was giving Him. So it's made me change my habits, which is resulting in character change. Yeah. So.
Wow, wasn't that just the most incredible story? If you enjoyed it, and if you want to hear more stories like this, hit the thumbs up button, because that lets me know that you enjoyed it and that you want to see more content like this. If you're looking for something else to watch, you can click this icon up here. That will link to part 1 of the series where I interviewed Jules Vidas and how she shares her epic story of endurance that God helped her run the most incredible race. If you haven't watched that video, you need to. It's awesome. Check it out here. Otherwise, let us know, do you have any other similar experiences? Have you experienced miraculous healing? Do you know someone or anyone who has? If you have, let us know in the comments below. Let's carry on a conversation. I'd love to do that with you. And also, if you're looking for a resource that will help you to grow your faith immediately, I've just made 5 steps to grow your faith resource that you can download for free. Just click the link in the description box below and you'll be taken right to it. Thank you, Ro, for sharing your story today. I'm really glad that you did. Otherwise, I will see you all next time. Have a great week and a great 2020. Bye.